Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today for our education committee. I know we haven't had one in a long time, and I'm super excited of everybody that's on the call. I'm super excited to be able to hear what our representatives from our local district have to say regarding our schools. So without further ado, I'll let them take it over.
Yeah, hold on. Before you start, can everyone mute themselves that's not presenting? Because if you're coming in the background, I'm going to automatically mute you. And it's going to be difficult for you to speak after that. So please, if you can mute yourself, that'd be great. And I guess the floor is yours. Thank you.
All right, awesome. So we're gonna have the Tobias, right? Is that correct? I said it correct.
Yes. Good evening, everybody. Nice to be here. Thanks for inviting me. So just an update. On Monday, I started a new job. So I am not the superintendent of District 8 anymore. I am now the acting executive superintendent of the Bronx. So I'm still Bronx, but just everyone now. So I just wanted to let you know that.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes, congratulations on that. Thank you.
So this is day 2 of that job. So last Friday I was superintendent of District 8. Today I'm acting executive superintendent of the Bronx. So that's how life goes. So it's great to be here. So some updates going on in the schools. High schools are opening next week, as many of you may know. Our elementary and middle schools are open. And we're trying to, for the families who want their children to return to school, we're working to get as many of them as 5 days a week as possible. And we still have the majority of our students working remotely at this time. We are working, we have a new chancellor, as you know, hopefully as you know, I was elevated to her position when she was elevated to chancellor. So she's going to be talking a lot about what September is going to look like for our families. And we are really committed to having really strong communication with the community and families. And that's why I'm here tonight. And I'd be happy to come back another time if you need me, just to hear your concerns and answer any questions that you have. But we are probably about 65% of District 8 is doing remote learning. So, but we're hoping that in September, we're going to have a much more, another new normal for September with welcoming back many of our families, and most of our families is our hope. We also have in District 8 is the science fair is coming up, which is in March. And that's it's the 3rd annual District 8 Science Fair. It's a very exciting event. So Donna Murphy can kind of fill you in on that. And the other thing that we have coming up as a borough, we're going to be recognizing and acknowledging National Minority Health Month, which is in the month of April. Many people haven't heard of it, but we feel like this is a good time to highlight that because of all that has gone on and the impact that COVID has had on the Bronx especially. So we feel like it's important to highlight, what resources are available to our community during that special month. And we're going to put a flyer out. We're going to do some different events, so you can look for that. We would love to share that with you, so you could also share it with all members of the Bronx community. So Donna, you want to add anything to that?
No, I just want to thank you all for having me. We have a whole bunch of initiatives that we're working on, so I really look forward to partnering with you and hearing your feedback. And I'm just really blessed to be here. Thank you.
So the other thing I'm thinking about also in this new role that I've just started on Monday is maybe meeting with all of the education committees in the Bronx. For all the different community boards. I feel like that would be a good way for us all to get together in the Bronx and like have, this particular group could meet with me maybe, every other month or something. So you could give me feedback if that sounds like something you'd like to do. You can let me know about that and, get all of us together, meeting and sharing concerns.
Thank you for that, because that would be a great milestone I think for all community boards, I think I could speak for most community boards on that issue. It's something that I know a lot of boards have been trying to create that communication with the schools. And for some reason, either principals are sort of reluctant. I understand that sometimes they got to get clearances before they can go to any meetings of that nature. But if we could meet with you, that'd be very, very good.
Yeah, absolutely. And now it's so easy to me too, in a way, because we're all, we can all be in our places. And it's really one of my big priorities is hearing from the community what you're thinking, what's going on in the schools. It's always more messaging and the more communication we have, the better. So I think it would be good also to get all the educational committees from all the school boards together. So, you guys can get your concerns and I could hear all of them at the same time. So do you have any questions for me or concerns, things that are coming up for you that you've heard?
I'll leave it to the chair.
Hey,
Madam.
I do have a few questions for you. Thank you so much for giving us an update. I know you said that we have the chancellor that she'll be giving updates to families about what next school year looks like, but do you have an idea more or less of what like next school year will look like? Will there still be 100% remote option to families, or would it be like just fully in person?
Yeah, I think, we don't know for sure yet, right? I think it's going to depend on how we continue to move forward with the numbers, which are certainly looking right now more promising in our state and in our city. And as the vaccine continues to roll out, more people get vaccinated, I think we're going to be making, more concrete decisions based on that. But, I know the goal is for us to have as many in person as we can. But I do believe that there's always going to be some kind of remote instruction going forward. We've learned a lot over this year, and there are some benefits to it. So I think there's always going to be that element. But what exactly will be offered, I'm not 100% sure. But I don't think remote education, remote learning is going to go away now. There's a lot, we have learned a great deal. And look, here's an example tonight of us being on this meeting. There have been some pluses to this. So I think we will definitely be continuing with it. But I'll be happy to come back again and give updates as I get more information. But I know the goal is as many students as we can welcome back and as many families that we can.
That sounds good. And then I have another question for you. So I think one around technology, right? Like I know that was an issue, especially like in the South Bronx and in the temporary housing where students are not don't have full access to engage in remote learning because there are some restrictions to either internet connectivity or just technology. So is that something you guys are what's the plan for that for next year if we do continue to be remote, or just even this year for students to be able to at least catch up for the little bit of the remote learning that's left?
Yeah, it's a tremendous concern. And I think most schools have spent the majority of their budget trying to buy devices, but it's not just about the devices, it's about the Wi-Fi. Because if you have a device without Wi-Fi, it's just like not having one, right? And especially and the other challenge that we know for families is that have multiple children, right? If you have more than one children and only one device, there's a lot of challenges there. So all schools have been buying a lot of laptops and getting hotspots, et cetera, but it's still not where it needs to be. And I know this is something that we're working with elected officials on. And the DOE does allow schools to buy hotspots, but it hasn't been as fast a process as we would like it to be. So it's definitely something that is talked about at the highest level of the DOE. And I know at the mayor's office. So it's something we will continue to work on, especially in those areas you mentioned. That's a big concern and something that we are putting resources into.
Okay, thank you. And then I think my other question is about just student support, right? So this year, I know we've had a lot of issues where scholars haven't been able to log on, but is there a plan in place for the next school year to be able to get scholars to where they need to be, right? Like remote learning is working for some, but for the most is not working.
Yeah.
You know, scholars are not getting that immersive experience that they are getting, they would be getting if they were in person. So is there a plan in place to be able to get, you know, our scholars from plan A to plan B, like to make sure they are where they need to be?
Definitely. I mean, we are in the Bronx now and citywide planning for that very thing. So how are we gonna, you know, I think it's not just about the academics, but it's also the social emotional aspect of people coming back. You know, in September, it will have been over a year that some people haven't been in the building, right? Because it started now and September, so it's about a year now. And by September, it will be even more than a year. So some of our students, our teachers, our families will have not been in the building for so long. So we're going to need to do some transition, some social emotional support, trauma of support. So all of that is being put out now, as you know, as well as the academic supports that will be needed. And we're really looking carefully at that. Like, what can we provide schools? What makes sense? But first, you know, we know it's very important to make sure that we provide those resources, because what may happen too, families may not even realize it until children come back into the building. You know, they may feel like the children may be ready to go, and then all of a sudden there could be anxiety and stress, and you know, there's a lot. It's going to be an adjustment period, definitely, and we are planning for that.
Awesome.
We
Thank
have,
you.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair.
Okay,
If you have any
thank
more
you.
questions, I just want to let you know Sandra De Jesus has her hand raised. So she,
No, that's
if you
what I
have
was going to say.
questions,
That's it.
please
Enough
raise
of
your
me. I was
hand.
going to open it up for the rest of the board members to ask any questions. Go ahead.
Perfect. I'm sorry. So Sandra, go ahead, Sandra. Raise your hand. There's a raise your hand function. If you want to ask a question, please.
My question, my granddaughter does remote learning. The DOE tablets have been gone down. She can't turn in her assignments because they keep saying they're working on the tablets. Meanwhile, we have to let her do it old school by book, but then you can't even submit the picture from the iPad. So the DOE tablet's been saying they're working on it since like 2 weeks. So what do we do about having to find out how long it's going to take for the maintenance on those iPads? Because it's not only her, it's her whole class plus the other students.
So what have you put it into the help desk or to the school?
The school knows about it. They keep saying that they're working on it, but nothing's going on in 2 weeks already.
So the school, so you brought it to the school and they're fixed, because there's two ways that you can fix technology. There's one through the DOE, like through central DOE, or the school. So you gave it to the school and they're handling it.
No, they said the central will be handling it. Sorry.
Okay. So did you send it to anybody, or you still have it?
I still have it because the school just opened on Monday. The school's closed.
And that's 48, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So we'll reach out to you and see how we can help with that for you. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you,
Honey, you
Sandra.
have info, right?
Paula Fields has her hand raised. Paula. Paula.
I'm sorry, I'm here. Hello, Dr. Tobias. How are you? I have three questions. How was the $1 Million Pencil campaign? Was it successful? Because I know right after that campaign came the pandemic.
Yes, it was. We collected just about 1 million pencils, and they all were delivered to the school. So it was extremely successful, and they certainly did. They were used. It wasn't the send off that we wanted to give those pencils, and we had a big event planned, but who could have possibly, you know, even when they said the schools were going to close, I couldn't even imagine what happened, right? So, but they were all delivered to the schools, and the schools used them, you know, to give out to students and different things. So they were all delivered. So thank you for asking about that. You are the first person that asked me about that.
Next up, we have Evelyn Arauz. Evelyn, you have a question?
One more.
Now, Richard. Now you, Richard. Evelyn is
Okay,
next.
I just wanted to know about,
Richard, you're not speaking. Evelyn Arauz is. She's next. Let's go in order.
Oh, okay.
Gotta raise your hand if anything, Richard. Thank you. Evelyn, you have a question?
Yeah, my question was like, the high school students gonna start next week. The blended students are the ones that are gonna start, or both, the remote and blended?
Well, remote should be the same as it's been. There's no change with the fully remote students. So next week, it's just that we're welcoming students back that want to come back into the building. So the in-person will start, but the remote will continue the way it is.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Evelyn. Now, Richard. Now you're up, Richard.
Okay, you sure about that? Okay, I was just wondering about the summer. Is there any talk about having schools open during the summer, because the students have lost a lot?
Yes, there is going to be a robust summer plan. So look for that. Should be coming out soon. But yes, there is going to be summer school.
All right, Richard. Thank you. Next up, we have Ray Arroyo.
Hi, everyone. So, Doctor, I manage a building with two schools in it. One's a charter and one's a New York City school. From my perspective is, and I'm speaking to the principals, I know we might have a hybrid system, but is the Board of Ed looking at adding more seats and building more schools in these communities? Our community, from my building, I actually see so many residential developments going up, and I'm concerned how many seats are we going to have for these maybe 1,500 residential units? Are we going to have seats for these kids? And
Which neighborhood is that?
Here, Community Board 2. So I'm on the other side of the peninsula, where the other side of the Bruckner. I'm at the Banknote Building. I don't know if you're familiar with it. So we have a lot of construction going on. I know in the classrooms, and I'm very involved with the schools that I'm in, the buildings that I manage. There's good landlord relationships we have. You know, a lot of these classrooms are very packed. So, you know, with the new change, I know money's tight, but is there talk about more construction in communities where you have a high density of kids like we do?
Yeah, so the New York School Construction Authority always has projects going, right? So in every school district each year at the CEC meetings, they present just that, what you're talking about. They present the projected, you know, number of new schools, and they give an update on that. So that information is available. And there are some new schools going up, but that's planned years and years in advance. So like, I know there's a new building an addition going on PS 138. I'm not sure if on Lafayette. But that was even before I started as superintendent, they were talking about that, right? So the process takes many, many years to get going. So it certainly wouldn't, there may be some that are going to open next year, but that would have been planned from years back.
Okay. Would you guys encourage to get private development to build like academic campuses where you guys could rent space as opposed to waiting for the SCA to build space?
Sometimes the DOE does that. Like I know one of our buildings, 269, so the DOE does rent space sometimes.
Okay.
So that is a possibility.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ray. Thank you. I think Paula, you have your hand raised. You had another question? We'll go Paula, Shatoria, and then Tamika Matt.
I do. Dr. Tobias, did the DOE clean all the AC vents in the schools that are currently in the Bronx or throughout the city? Do you know?
Yes, there's a very diligent cleaning protocol that the schools go through, and it is a good point that you bring up because the air conditioners will have to go back on soon. So that is a concern, I know, of parents and, sending their children back. So yes, they will all be cleaned out, and the vents will be addressed before the air conditioners are turned on. Traditionally, the air conditioning units are turned on around Memorial Day, and there will be extra, cleaning protocols for this year.
Is that so? The children, the high school students, are going to be starting on the 22nd. I'm concerned about the ventilation systems throughout the schools because germs live and store in those places. Yes. And if you trying to combat a virus, it could be harboring in those vents. So have they cleaned them now, or are they going to plan on cleaning them?
No, the AC vents or just the vents in general?
Oh,
Yeah, no, they have cleaned, there's a certain, a protocol that all custodians have to go through to clean the buildings, and they will be cleaned before the children come back. But the air conditioning units, they're not going to be turned on yet, so, but before they are, they will be cleaned. But the regular ventilation system, depending on the kind of building it is, they definitely have been cleaned out.
so Ms. Murphy, that's your assistant, and we can ask questions for her and reach her instead of holding up this meeting, because I have a couple of concerns. So,
No, I think we gotta spread it around if you got a couple of concerns, because there's other people
No,
that
no, I
have
don't
their.
want to answer now, but I want to know who, if Ms. Murphy was the person that I
Oh.
contacted for these, could I call her and ask
Yep.
her questions that I would want to ask now?
Yep, I put my phone number in the chat and my email already, and I'll put it back in
Right.
again, okay?
Oh, thank you, I have it, thank you.
Paula, I got two more questions, and then we have, it's going on 6:30. We do have some time, and as long as Yvonne allow it, maybe you have another question ready. But I think Shatoria is next now. Shatoria, you have your hand raised.
Hi, good evening. So I'm an essential worker and also a mother, and I know how helpful the regional enrichment centers were during the height of COVID in 2020. I want to know if there will be a continuation of the Learning Bridges program for essential workers during the summer outside of summer instruction. Will there be summer programs for essential working families?
I'm not sure the answer to that. So if you can, Don, and get information, we can get back to you on that, because I'm not sure if they're going to do that with the summer program. I don't know. I don't want to give you an answer that but we'll find out for you.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
And then we have Jesse Harris, who's physically waving at me on the camera. Jesse, get yourself off mute. You're on mute.
Community school
Mute
board.
yourself, Jesse.
Yes, are you off mute?
All right, we'll go back to you, Jesse, when you're ready. We just have Tamika Mapp in front of you now. So Tamika, she had a hand raised.
Hi, thank you for having me. Dr. Thomas, I just have a quick question. A lot of students are getting penalized because their internet is unstable and they keep on getting kicked off of Zoom. How can we ensure they don't get penalized for the stability of their internet?
Yeah, that is definitely not a factor in student outcomes. So what school are you speaking of, your own children?
No, just various schools in the community. I'm the state.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
just
that
have a
was,
look at all schools.
no, I mean, that should come into play in grading or any kind of student, assessment. That's not a factor at all. And, sometimes teachers have issues, that's very common. So but if there's an issue that's a steady issue, then parents should reach out to the school to see if they can help problem solve with that.
Okay. Thank you. Jesse.
Yes, I'm here. I'm worried about the children. There's standardized tests that's coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any consideration, because of the unique aspect of learning over this COVID period? What is the DOE going to do? Because, you might prevent some children from going forward. And if you prevent some children from going forward, you might stop that child's education. I mean, their total interest in education.
Yeah.
Because, of the factors in terms of COVID, in terms of teaching.
Yeah, no child is going to be held back for that. Absolutely not. So don't even worry about that. That will not happen. I guarantee you. Okay. So what to me, also, a lot of you don't know that I'm also a mother. I have 3 children. So when I think about promotion endowed and children, it's really, to me, it should be a collaborative decision between the parents and the school and what's best for the child, right? Sometimes it's good for a child to do another year because it helps them, to get that extra, and sometimes it isn't good, right? So it should only be done if it's going to benefit the child, and we don't, especially now, we are not going to penalize children for anything like that. There's been a lot of trauma that, you know, all of us have experienced some kind of trauma and loss over this time, whether it's, you know, a physical family member or just mental, you know, challenges that we've had. So certainly no child or family is going to be penalized, and the state test will certainly not come into play for that at all.
Bro, have you set up some sort of committee that would review that? Because, you know, if I'm a parent and they're saying my child is going to be left back. Now, I want to make sure that there's a committee that's going to really look into that. That's really important in a child's education.
I agree. So I think, you know, the way that it should be in every school is that the parent should have a conversation with the teacher and have a discussion about what they think is best, you know, looking at the child's work, et cetera. And then if they're not happy with it, then they reach out to the principal. But it's a school-based decision. And then if there's still a problem, then you can talk to the family coordinator, who can reach out to the superintendent. But in my 3 years as superintendent, I never had anything like that because the schools really understand and work to collaborate with the parents.
Understood, but I'm just talking about the uniqueness of COVID. That's all.
Yeah, and it certainly gives us new challenges and things to consider this year, and we will definitely do that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Jesse. We got Paula, Alexandra Guadalupe, and Telvis. Paula.
Yo, Ralph, I've been raising my hand for a while, bro.
I don't see you. Your hand isn't raised yet, Mr. Chairman. No, you have to, it's on the computer. Everyone's raising their hand. There's a function next to your name, and you press it to raise your hand. So I'm not physically seeing you there, Mr. Chairman. I'm sorry. So yeah, we have the chairman, then Paula, Guadalupe, and Telvis.
No. Go through your list. What you got there, Ralph?
Yeah, you're next. You're next. Right.
Donna's on too.
Go ahead, Mr. Chairman. You're up.
No, my question, my only question is with this unfortunate COVID situation that we're facing, I have not heard what are the plans in the schools to address the COVID. If a child walks into a classroom and gets diagnosed with COVID, what's going to be the school procedures? If it's a high school child that probably is walking all around the school, what's the procedures? Does the school close down? Does the classroom close down? Does the whole class get tested? And then naturally, now you're testing, the city is testing, or rather in the nation, they're testing kids with the Moderna vaccine to see how it affects the children. But I just like to know, you know, what's the plans in each school? What do you have in schools as it pertains to nurses following up with Department of Health and Department of Education?
So there is a very extensive plan that the DOE has put into place, and this has been implemented for months already, right? Because the students have been back for months. So the Department of Education has set up something called the Situation Room, and every principal, and it collaborates with the Department of Health and different agencies. So when a case is reported, it goes through the Situation Room, and classroom closures happen, school closures happen, families have to quarantine, and there is also a testing program at every school. So children there's random testing at the school. So there's a very, very solid program in place already for that has been operating for months already.
All right, so that means that does each school have a nurse, or is there?
Yes, every school has a nurse.
All right, thank you.
But it's a very tight system. The Situation Room, the principals call, they know the protocols. And let's say there's an outside case that the school doesn't know about, right? Because it could happen that there's the Department of Health reports it to the Situation Room. So there's a cross-agency collaboration.
And do they all get forwarded to your desk?
yes, and the principals and the superintendents, and they, so like today I got, sometimes there's a classroom closure, sometimes there's a building closure. Usually it closes for 24 hours. They do a further investigation, and if they find that there's, a concern for the community, they close the school for 10 days, and then it reopens again.
Okay,
But this
thank
is
you.
a daily system that has been working for months, so
Thank you very much.
you're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So we have 3 questions left. Paula, Alexandra, and Telvis. And then I think that, for now, we got a lot of information here, and for people to absorb, but, and these are just board members also, Dr. Tobias. So Paula, you're up.
Dr. Tobias, parents, I noted that you stated earlier through the chairman's question that the school will be open for children who want to go to school.
Yes.
So if a child does not want to go into the building, will they have the option to continue remote learning? And will the parent be penalized?
No. I mean, as I said before, I don't know if you heard that part. So like in District 8, there's about 70% of our families are fully remote. So we're just opening up for the families that are comfortable opening. But the rest, everything will continue. The remote instruction will continue. And as I was just saying, so there is always a chance that a school can close, right? Because if there's COVID cases, like we were just talking about, there's a possibility that the school could close for 10 days. So even those students that are in person need to have that remote learning continue, because it's possible they may have to go back into remote for a period of time.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Paula. Guadalupe, you still there with us? There you go.
Yeah. Hi, good evening, everyone. Hi, Dr. Tobias.
Hi.
Question 2 is, because I don't think you've kind of fully answered a gentleman's question in reference to how we have new development. You mentioned that it takes time and is done prior, right? But my question to you is, what is the process? Like, how do we know these are happening? How can we put in our application and say, we believe because of these developments that are being developed in a certain area, not just CB2, but how does that work? What's the process? Like, who do we do?
Yeah,
like,
so
that we know that it's happening, that we can put in, the conversation could start happening.
Yeah.
So you said if nobody knows about it, then our kids are just, just growing up without the necessary education or the schools that is required in certain communities. That's unfair. So since we know about and developments being developed, and a lot of are going to be in an area out schools, how can we get applications for that? How does the process? That's my question.
So the school there's a whole department in the Department of Education that looks at school growth and community growth. I can't think of the name of it right now. Donna, I don't know if you can help me out with it. I don't remember it.
Is that the Office of Planning?
Yes, school planning with Max. Yes. So that office looks at, they look at the numbers in the community. This is a constant ongoing process that the Department of Education has. So they look at the registration numbers in the schools. They look at the number of students. They look at kindergarten registration and how many kindergarten students there are, and they project for middle school. So this is a constant process that goes on with the Department of Education. And every year they present to the community, the education councils. It's a yearly meeting that they have. I believe that it already happened though in District 8, didn't it, Donna?
Yes, it did. Yes, it did.
But there, we may be able to, and I don't know if Max would come to one of these meetings, we might be able to do that. So we can look out, we can see if we can get you someone from the Department of Ed to speak to you about how to go about that process, because there is that department, that section of the DOE that is available for this. So we can reach out and see if we can get them to a meeting here. That would be helpful to you.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hold on, Telvis, and then I got Luis Marrero.
All right, good Good evening, everyone. My name is Thelvis Olson. I'm a board member and also a parent. And I'm sorry I chimed in a little late, so I'm not sure if this was covered. But two concerns I'm going to jump a little bit off of what Brother Harris spoke about with retention of students. I think that, when we have, and I use this word loosely because of the pandemic, but social promotion, these kids may be still missing things through the gaps of technology or gaps of home structure. And as they move forward, they may not have the app skills to be successful in that next grade. So that just leads me to just the future planning for continued remedial education for this community specifically. And then secondly, you spoke about the nurses being in a process for if a child comes in ill with the COVID disease. But what about the mental aspect of these children that are going to have these delays in maturity from not being around socially around others and things of that sort there? Because unfortunately, in our communities, without that psychological support, our children are deemed, I would say, not fit for the classroom and are given prescriptions and or just kind of go down a road of just, I'll say, a leading a failure because they don't feel like they can succeed. That is, I think, something that plagues our community. And I think it should be something special for our community because we already have identified these gaps in learning and they only will grow as these children grow. So it's a twofold question. I hope it wasn't too much.
No, but yeah, I did talk about this earlier. So there is a very robust plan for addressing the social emotional needs of everyone that's going to return, including staff, right? Because we have some staff that hasn't returned also. So there is going to be a addressing trauma. We're talking and doing all that planning now. We're also, there's always support available for children that need intervention support. And we are also, we're doing a lot of planning right now for September. There's also going to be a summer school option for families. So we are doing a lot of planning, a lot of thoughtful engagement around just the topics you're saying. Social emotional is going to be tremendously important for all of our students and families and staff members to, come back into the building. As I was saying before, some of our families, some of our children, some of our staff, it will be over a year since they've been in the building. So we know and anticipate a tremendous amount of social emotional support needed.
Okay, Cynthia.
Good. I'm sorry.
Oh, you got one more, Silvis? I'm sorry.
Well, no, it's just how will we be able to quantify these efforts are being really put in place for our children? As we see our communities, we're seeing an uptick in gun violence. There's children that live in these homes of parents that are lost their jobs. It really just has to be a concentrated effort. And how will we be able to substantiate that these things are being put in place and be a part of that conversation, particularly for this community? And I'm sorry, Ralph, for taking more time.
Yeah,
not a problem, Dovis. Don't worry about it. We do have a couple more people though that just came on.
That's my last question.
Okay, so every school will must have a plan. It's not whether they will or not. They will have one. And as far as being part of the conversation, I think the best way to do that is to reach out. In District 8, all of our schools have a robust parent calendar where parents have the ability to attend meetings on a monthly basis. All the principals run town hall meetings. So if there's a specific, in general, globally at the DOE, there is a structure in place. There are systems in place. There are people, where there's training of different things, hiring of people. So that's happening centrally. The school-based, how it looks at the school, every parent should be able to go to these meetings, these virtual meetings principals are having, and ask those questions. So what's the specific plan at our school? Because every school will be a little bit different, but all schools will have that available. And as far as quantifying it, there'll be a certain amount of time that will be available. And there's a structure that we use as ways to identify when kids need additional supports. And so there'll be general supports for everyone. And then there'll be like additional supports needed for those children and families that need more than just what everyone else gets. So those structures will be in place, and it will be executed differently at each school or implemented differently. So I think that's the best way to find out the specifics, is to attend those town halls and ask the principals how they're implementing that.
Great. Thank you for that feedback. It'll be
Cynthia.
Thank you so much for that feedback. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. So you said that the children are not going to be penalized or held back. How do you know if a child is left back? What would be the reasons that they are held back?
Yes.
And for the kids that do not, like high school kids, that they do not get the credits that they're supposed to be getting, wouldn't that affect them the following year?
Yeah. So what I said was they're not going to be penalized for not having internet access, or they're not going to be penalized for the state exam. That's what I was saying. So, how students get the promotional policy from the Department of Education, is different for different grades. In high schools, there is a credit accumulation that they have to, we have to make sure our students have in place. And schools are working now, principals are working, we're working in different ways to make sure that our high school students have that. So I think if you have a concern about your child, and your high school student specifically, you have to reach out, you should reach out to the guidance counselor, the principals, but there is a plan in place to help our children, especially our high school children, to make sure that they get the credits they need, because we know that, we see that there's so many different reasons why kids are struggling in high school. Some are working, some are doing different things. So there are ways for us to help them make sure that they graduate.
Okay. Hello. Okay.
Hold on, Reverend Moses. Luis Marrero.
Yeah.
Luis Marrero.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, Ralph. Hi,
Okay.
my name is Luis Marrero. I just would like to ask a question. I know you were telling the chair about if someone is diagnosed with COVID and the school is usually will be closed for 10 days. But what is the process behind the tracing? Where this kid got COVID, and how this is communicated to the parents and families around the kids, and also the process of getting, letting even the teachers know what's going on. Because I know you were talking about that you've been planning, you've been doing so much of the planning and the coordination, but how do you communicate this to the people? Because it doesn't matter how much you work, how much you do, if people don't know what to do at the time that they faced whatever issue it is, they don't know where to go, or they don't know what to do. So how this is communicated also to the people? Because we're in the community, we didn't know much about it.
Yeah, so all the parents at the school receive notification if the school is closed. That's the principal will get the notification, and then they communicate to the teachers and to the families. And there's we have had a big effort getting parents signed up for the Department of Education email account, so that they get it through that. And each school has a different way of communicating with parents. But all the parents at all the schools know that this is a possibility, and each school has their system. But it's been going on for months, this, the system of communication, because elementary schools have been open for a long time.
Thank you.
Okay, we have the chairman. He has another question.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but I wanted to go back to Mr. Arroyo's question and also to Ms. Guadalupe's question, which is your Office of Planning. I understand that they may have had their meeting already for this district, but I have problems with the fact that right now, of our planning that we have had already in this community board, we're expecting about 1,470 new students, rather 1,470 new residents in this community board in the next 4 to 5 years. And as you explained, it takes a couple of years for this process to go through.
Yeah.
But if we've never have encountered the Office of Planning to talk to them about what's in our what's actually approved by the city council and the mayor's office, and what year things are coming up. Like right now in the Hunts Point area, we got 470 new apartments coming in, which will kill PS 48 and I forgot David Vasquez's school.
Bam Middle School.
Right, but they're middle school, but it still may run them over. And I know he's got 2 charter schools in his building. And there's another building coming up very soon, 420 new apartments. And if we look at most family structures, you're talking about a father, mother, and probably 2 children at the minimum. At the minimum. So we're talking, if you look at two times 1470, you're talking about almost 2,900 students that are possibly coming in the next 4 to 5 years.
Right.
Dr. Tabaya, do you mind if I interject for a second? Thank you, Mr. Crespo, for doing some great math, because that's important. And often the community does know what's going on. And what I hear you say is that it's really important that we get that information if Office of Planning does not have it. So one of the things that do happen is that the CEC, like Dr. Tabaya was saying, looks over those figures, which we've done in 8 a couple of months ago. But what I'm going to do 2 things, if you allow me to. I'd like to put my phone number, which I did in the chat. I'd like to have a conversation with you, because you have a lot of information that I make sure makes its way if it's not there already. And then I also want to share with you guys the PowerPoint that was used at the CEC, so that you could see the projection of seats and all of that information, so that your conversations continue to be even stronger. Is that okay with you?
Most definitely, ma'am. Naturally, I would like for my district manager to be part of it.
Absolutely.
Because he's got more. If you say I got a lot of information, you don't know. This man's got more information than me.
Crespo, can I say so? So Donna Murphy has actually called the community board over the summer, and I have spoken to her. So she has been reaching out, and she has been leaving information. So it's a really good thing. So for everyone that's on this call, it's very important just for them to leave their information on the chat, because once I'm done, I clean it up. I send everyone's information in one group chat, and if you can contact whoever you need to, which is why I continue to say, please leave your information in the chat.
No, thank you, Cynthia.
Okay.
But I think that I would like to have maybe another virtual meeting with Ralph.
No, definitely.
And Donna, so like that we could get and Yvonne, since she's our chair of our education committee, with all 4 of us to discuss this, because this is the first time I'm hearing of the Office of Planning for DOE, and it's concerning on my part.
Bobby, I had brought in the School Construction Authority about 3 years ago.
I know that.
I gave them 3 locations. They said they needed 75,000 square feet. And I gave them 3 locations each. The floor plan was about 30,000. And so then you build up 2 or 3, 3 or 4 stories. And they kept saying that the seating capacity in board 2 was not met. And that was the reason. And then knowing that we're getting close to 1,400 new apartments, that's a few thousand people. They would have to anticipate any new construction. And for the record, we have not gotten any new construction in our district for quite some time. I'm going to go back into maybe in the 2000s. So there's other school districts in the borough that had renovations and upgrades, but we have not gotten any new construction in our district here. So this was something that I was advocating with our local elected officials. But we have met. We met with we brought them in the School Construction Authority, and they denied all of our requests to build any new structures, and it had nothing to do with finances. They just said that we did not lack seating capacity in our district, but yet they were willing to bus students from one part of school zone 8, let's say Hunts Point, they were willing to bus students to like Castle Hill or Throgsneck, that is also part of School District 8. When we're saying we can utilize the new construction in our district. And so, yeah, but we'll follow up. This could be an offline conversation we can have.
Yeah, I think that it's better offline, and like I said, maybe we lost a step because we went to school construction, and maybe we should have been speaking to the office planning, and there was a step lost there. But there's always time to correct whatever has to be corrected, and hopefully.
This is with Sydney. This was when Sydney was there. Sydney Reddick. We went through all of this, Bobby. Trust me.
I recall it, Ralph. But
I have one more person that for the city. It's already. We got another presentation after this. So Raymond, you have another question, and after that, we got to move on.
Yeah. Hi, Dr. Tabaya. I wanted to know, and I know we're talking about Department of Education, but there's a lot of charter schools. So is there any direct collaboration in terms of COVID preparedness and rules that they follow, and then also reporting that they follow, or is the charter school separate, and should we be talking to a separate entity for that to look at that oversight?
Great question.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the charter schools. I know that many of them are not back yet, so that they've done fully remote. So I'm not sure. I can't, and I don't want to give you any information. I'm not sure.
So there's no. You wouldn't be familiar with any state agency or anyone that would be. I mean, I know they're independent, but at the same time, there has to be a base bar that they have to follow on rules.
Yeah, I know, like in District 8, a few of them have not. Like I know the one in the Soundview campus is not open. So it's a different entity, but all schools that are in a building now would have to, everything has to go through the Department of Health. But I'm not sure, I don't want to give answer because I'm not sure of the answer, but we can look into it.
Okay, thank you.
Yvonne, Madam Guillen, I think we're done with.
Yeah, I'm here.
I don't know if you want.
All right.
But we do have another presentation, and I would like, if possible, if both Donna and Erica could stay on so they can get this information from the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene.
Yeah, absolutely. I just wanted to say thank you so much, ladies, for your time and coming on this call and answering, the questions and concerns of the board members. And I hope to have you ladies back on maybe in a month or two with more updates regarding like the summer planning and the rest of the planning going on for the next school year. Ralph, if we could let the other presenters start, that'll be great.
Yes, I'm sorry about that. Yes. We have Anita Reyes from the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene on. And I think she's going to have some information regarding some of our local statistics, which will, I think, possibly include something with our schools. Anita, are you there? I see you already took the screen. Anita, you got to unmute yourself because you're muted right now, so we can't hear you.
There
you go.
I'm not sure what's happening with my computer today, but I'm having technical issues, so bear with me, please, everyone. So good afternoon. My name is Anita Reyes, and I'm the director of the Bronx Neighborhood Health Action Center, which is the office that pertains to the New York City Department of Health. We do a lot of work around addressing health disparities and health equity, but currently all my work has to do with COVID. I'm currently at the COVID site. We are at a vaccination site that's open 24 hours a day. So here we are, trying to vaccinate all New Yorkers. So with that, I wanted to share some data. And the data, as you can see, right, the darker the color, the more cases we're seeing in those neighborhoods. So the chart on the side, the slide, it shows you the daily number of cases and hospitalizations, as well as the deaths. So let's just look at the probable cases. So you see the dark gray, those are the probable cases. And then the blue, those are the total cases that have been confirmed. And so the line is the daily average for 7 days. Okay, so we're seeing that, you know, it's going down a bit, but we're still seeing that, you know, the cases are high in New York City. And so the Bronx, sorry, I just wanted to say something about the Bronx. So you see that there is a strip in the Bronx that continues to be high. And so we're seeing like that South Bronx, East Tremont, that area there continues to be high. And I wanted to show you a quick glimpse of what is happening. And so what we're seeing is that the numbers for the Bronx are still a little higher than the citywide. So we're seeing a positivity rate of 6.9%. Okay. Brooklyn, Manhattan, Queens. I don't think we want to, you know, really focus on that. I do want to emphasize and stress the importance of people getting tested. So it's important that, you know, if you have any symptoms or if you're out and being exposed on a daily basis, you should be getting tested. We have a couple of clinics in the Bronx. The Department of Health has one clinic that is located on 1309, and you can call and make an appointment, and it's prioritizing all Bronx residents. And the number is 347-396-7976. I also want to remind everyone that although there's a vaccination in place, that people still have to observe the core 4 that we continue to talk about. So we're asking everyone to please, stay home if you're sick. That's very important. Wear your face covering. It doesn't matter if you've been vaccinated. You have to wear your face covering and wear it correctly, covering your nose and your mouth. Keep 6 feet distance and washing your hands. So we continue to say the same messages. Gatherings, we're asking people to please avoid gatherings and travel. We did see a spike during the Christmas break because we saw that people were traveling and gathering. In terms of the elderly people and people with underlying conditions, the commissioner's advisory is asking people just to stay home. I mean, if you have a doctor's appointment or need to do those kinds of urgent things, then it's important to get out. The New York City Department of Health recently updated the face covering guidance, and the guidance now talks about better protection by wearing 2 masks. So we're asking people to wear a cloth mask and a disposable mask. Of course, this is going to help in terms of improving the protection for people. Or the other option is to consider using a higher grade mask, which is like the K95. Okay. The guidance are online, or if you'd like, I'll send you a link so that you could look at all the face covering guidance that have been developed. So we continue to talk about vaccination is important. We do know that New York City has been promoting this vaccination through this equitable distribution plan. We want people to know that the vaccine is safe, it's free, and it's easy to get. And so with that, I just want to share some numbers. These are just the numbers of how we've been distributing the vaccine. So far, there's been 3 million New Yorkers who have received the vaccine, okay? And so I show you the breakdown. Some people have received dose 1 and others have received dose 2. With that, we do know that there continues to be disparities, right? And so the data is showing us, and we're being transparent about this. We want to show you the data. We want everybody to have access to this. So if you go to our website, you'll see that the data is there. But this is what we're seeing. We're seeing that the New York City continues to see that there is a gap, right? If you look in New York City, the ages 18 to 64, 37% of white people have received vaccination. And when you look at the Latinos and the Black, the numbers are smaller. So with that, we know that one, there's a couple of things that's happening. We do know that there's limitation. Now the demand is high and the supply is low. But we also do know that we have to build confidence in this vaccine. And right now we have to work with the community, work with the partners, so that we can give the right information to our constituents and residents of the Bronx. All right. And so in terms of vaccines, I think this is more data that's good and helpful for you. It shows you the neighborhoods that have been vaccinated. So look at that, right? The darker the number, the more people have gotten vaccinated. So you see in the North Bronx, what's happening? many people are getting vaccinated. So when I go to the South Bronx, what's happening here, right? Less people are getting vaccinated. And so the same thing when I look at Lower Manhattan, look at that, right? So I think it's important for us to look at this and see how we can help our communities get information. And so with that, I just wanted to mention that, you know, the vaccine is going to be available for everyone with time, but not yet. We are focusing on making sure that it's an equitable distribution plan. And when I say equitable, we're looking at this data. We're saying, where are the vaccination sites? Where should we have a pop-up site? So I am working with the pop-up sites, which is that we're popping up in different neighborhoods. And so last week we opened up a new site at Co-op City, and that one is distributing the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. Then we have another one at Morrisania. We opened one at Bed-Stuyvesant a few days ago. And so we're continuing to pop up in all these neighborhoods. Okay, so I think that's really important. We're looking at the data and we're focused on where the gaps are. And so we have to really work to ensure that, you know, that people have access, but also that they have the information to this vaccine. So building the confidence. And so you've probably heard that the health department, along with other city agencies, they have a vaccine command center that's really, their job is to focus on looking at how we're distributing the vaccine. And so this is a partnership between the federal government, the state, and many community elected officials, but also city agencies and many partners. And so just quick basics about what's happening, right? We do know that this vaccine is safe. It's gone under rigorous testing, just like other vaccines. It's being recommended. Even if you've already had COVID, you should still get it. This does not contain the virus, and it does not alter the DNA. So there's some misinformation that's going on. We want to make sure that people understand that they do not get the virus by getting this vaccine. Currently, there are 3 vaccines that have been approved by the FDA as emergency use authorization. And that's the Pfizer, the Moderna, and the Johnson & Johnson. Now, the Pfizer and the Moderna, they are the vaccines that require 2 doses. And so the Pfizer, you have to get a second dose within 21 to 42 days. And the second one is 4 weeks to 42 days. That's the Moderna. And so the second dose appointments must be made at the same location. So you can't just jump around because we want to make sure that we're tracking this. And so the Johnson & Johnson, it's 1 vaccine that's given. So even if after getting vaccinated, again, people have to comply with the regulations and the guidelines that the state has given us and the city. Now, how does this vaccine get to New York? So it's a complicated, right? The federal government is basically managing the whole distribution of the vaccines through their manufacturers. And then New York City, we receive the allocation. And what we do is that based on, you know, the allocation that's given, it's then distributed to the others. So if you want more information, this is all online. The governor is the one that decides on eligibility. And so we're just following what the guidelines are in terms of eligibility. Again, I talked about the extremely limited quantities that we're getting. So of course we need more. The more vaccines we get, the more sites we're gonna open and the more appointments there's gonna be. So we wanna make sure that we get more here in New York. And so the access and building confidence, I think I talked a little bit about that already. Sorry, I skipped one. The phase distribution approach and the eligibility. This currently, the way that we're doing this is basically following the governor. And so right now we are up to the food restaurant people. And starting tomorrow, we're going to have public-facing government and nonprofit employees and essential building service workers who will become available to get vaccinated. Okay, so this phase distribution will take time. We're hoping that we'll have vaccines for everyone by mid-2021, but everybody has to wait their turn. All right. And so in terms of building confidence, again, our goal is to make sure that we have an equity plan in place. We continue to say that we want to make sure that we're addressing these gaps. We're seeing that, the Hispanics as well as the Blacks, the numbers are low. So how can we, bring more to these communities? We're looking at data that's really helping us point us to, where we should be prioritizing. And also working with the community, continue to work with the community to see how we could get the message across. The city has also been looking at neighborhoods that really require more attention. And so they've increased the number of neighborhoods from 27. Now we have 33. Many neighborhoods in the South Bronx have been on this list. And so quickly, we are expanding the sites. And pharmacies, local pharmacies have been distributing the vaccine. So many of the pharmacies in these locations. We're also working with different local providers, F2HC, I know Urban Health and others are offering vaccine. And so what we're asking people is, please, if you need an appointment, go to our vaccine finder. And there we have centralized the system and you'll see which locations have vaccines available. And so there's a number that the city is running, and it's again the 877-829-4692. So it's either Vaccine Finder or the 877 number. We're continuing to improve this operation, and so we want to make sure that it's working for everyone. We're partnering with the Department of Aging to provide access to appointments for the community. There's also a program that's focused on homebound. And in terms of transportation, the city is paying for transportation for seniors to get to and from the COVID vaccination sites.
We actually have the, I'm sorry, Anita, we actually have the number that seniors can call on the actual agenda.
Thank you. Thanks. And so language access, of course, we have hotlines with many languages. And so we want to encourage people to call those numbers. And so, how can we build the confidence? Again, it's using trusted messengers. How can we work together to train our partners with information, the right information, so that then they can help spread the message? Things that we're doing to promote this is, town hall meetings, working with different elected officials, city agencies, and anyone that wants to partner with us to have more town halls. We're having community conversations because we want to hear what people are saying and how we can help them better understand this process. I talked about the train the trainer earlier. We have a train the trainer training our partners with the right information so that they could train their clients and constituents. We have on the ground canvassing that's going on. We're doing robocalls. We're mailing things. You probably all received a mailer with the vaccine information. We're texting, and we're creating a lot of different campaigns so that people could be aware of what's happening. Okay, there's a video. I'm not going to bore you with that, but I think that I've covered it all. Questions?
Thank you so much, Anita. We first have Monique that has her hand raised. Monique.
Hello, guys. So I would like to start off by saying that there is no secret of the handling of African Americans within the healthcare system. So there should be no shock that people such as myself are a little concerned about, the goals of this vaccine. We understand that it is necessary, and it's a fear that we live with every day. However, my question is, I noticed that your map showed that the North Bronx was getting high levels of vaccine. Manhattan was getting their vaccines. But in between this is the South Bronx, where the red was much higher and they got skipped over. So I'm trying to understand how that works. How are we the higher ones with the infection, but we did not get the vaccines, or at least enough to start vaccinating the constituents in our communities as of yet? Why are we still waiting and we have the higher numbers?
Thank you, Monique, for your question, and it's a great question. The health department has been working to provide access to vaccines. So we have 3 locations in the Bronx, in the South Bronx, But, you know, some of the people in the area perhaps are not going there. And there's other people probably from the North Bronx using these locations. So we do have vaccine sites in the South Bronx. We're currently at St. Anne's. We're also on Boston Road. And every weekend we have thousands of vaccines that we're giving out. Is how do we get the people out? How do we give them the information? You talked about the mistrust in government, about the background that happened with, you know, the medical practices and that have really affected us. So now is our time to take time and really talk to the community and help them understand, you know, that this vaccine, you know, is a free vaccine. It's a vaccine that we know that it's going to protect people and that it's safe. So I think that there's a lot that we all have to work together to convince the community to get it. And so recently I was at a focus group and I was listening to the community and they're not opposed to it, but they're saying, let's wait. They don't want to, you know, like some of them don't want to. And then there's other people that, you know, they prefer probably to get it at their doctor's office. So there's all these reasons, right, that we have to really address. But I think that one of the big things is that, you know, there's a lot of miscommunication out there. And some people are listening to, you know, social media and all these other things. So it's like, how can we get messages that can help the community get the information, the correct information, and that also can help them see, like, look, this is the only option that we have. Because otherwise there's no medicine. Like, how many people have died in the Bronx? 5,000 people have died of COVID. And so, you know, it's a shame, especially the elderly people who really have received the you know, most of the impact on this. So I think all of us together, we have to work on this. But there's available, there's available vaccine places helping organizations to sign up people.
Monique, I gotta piggyback off of what Anita's saying, because that's a good question. A lot of people are saying they just want to wait like for another, you know, a second round of this vaccine. They're a little reluctant into taking the first vaccines. So, but that's a very good question, Monique. Next we have Sandra De Jesus and Luis Marrero.
Yes, I want to talk about the homebound people. I was under the impression that they were supposed to get their vaccinations at home. They were supposed to bring somebody in so that they can get vaccinated. On my block alone, there's a lot of seniors. My neighbor's 93 years old. I have a lot of neighbors on this block that are over their 90s and their 80s, and they don't want to leave their homes. They're basically homebound. So what is going to happen with them? Because they said they were going to send people in to get them vaccinated.
Yeah, and another good question. So I just want to make sure that folks know that the city is working to get people vaccinated. So currently we're working with DFTA, which is the Department of Aging, but we're also working with the FDNY, and we're calling people and trying to get to know who needs someone to come to their home. So we've started that already. And the idea is that people from FDNY or other agencies are going to come to the home to vaccinate the seniors. And they're offering them the Johnson & Johnson vaccine.
Anita, I want to piggyback. I'm sorry. We have, I'm not sure if he's still on, but Angel from Biaggi's office, they have a lot of information on homebound seniors and homebound residents. So they can always reach out to Biaggi's office as well.
And I'll put that information online, and all it's going to ask you is for the name, the phone number, the date of birth. So they'll contact the person and they'll come and vaccinate them at home. So I could put that in the chat.
All right, great. Moving on, Luis Marrero.
Hi, Anita. How are you?
I'm good.
Good. I just have a question, and just, you know, going back to what Monique said, I do understand that there are people who want to wait until later to get vaccinated, but there's a whole bunch of people out there looking for vaccine, a whole bunch. Last week I was in Hunts Point. I was in front of the places, Project Hope, and I was talking to people, and I spoke to 3 ladies. As a matter of fact, they were African American, and they wanted to get vaccinated right away. So although yes, there are people who maybe don't want to, or they want to wait, there are a whole bunch of people who want to go and get vaccinated, and I get the fact that maybe you can go to the vaccination finder and find out if you can go. But I think, I mean, it is good that you come to the community board. It is good that we who come to the community board meetings are listening of what's going on, but it's a whole bunch of people out there that they don't come to community boards and they have no way to get this information. And when you're out there, you're talking to them, you can give some of the resources that you have, like for instance, urban health. But it's so much that you can do at urban health. As a matter of fact, we were supposed to get 600 vaccines this week, and we only got 200. So we have to cancel 400 people appointments. So there's still more challenges out there in getting vaccines. So I believe if there's any possibility, because you said also that there are 3 pharmacies out there that in the South Bronx. I really want to know what the pharmacies are, where they are, what is the name, what is the phone number. So if someone asks me, oh, you go to this pharmacy, I don't really feel bad referring them to a link or to a call but I don't know if they were ever going to call or they're going to look in the internet for the finding. If I have the information, I can give it to them right there. In addition to that, you were saying that there's 3 other places in the Bronx that are also vaccinating in addition to urban health. Which one? I really want to know, maybe and it doesn't have to be now, but maybe later, those resources that are in the finder, how can we, at least the community board, can have access to those places and telephone numbers? So when people come to us, we give them a phone number and a place. We don't tell them, go find it. Look in your address, basically your address, this is where you're going to go. Because I think it's getting challenging, and there are people who want to get vaccinated there. You show the map, and there are places that are highly vaccinated. Other people are under vaccinated, like the community board, Hunts Point and Longwood. But when you go to Manhattan, you have the Jacob David Center vaccinating 24 hours a day. Yet you don't have a place like that in the community, in our community. So yes, there are a lot of people vaccinated there, because there's access to the vaccines there. But in our community, yes, we have some places, but not as much as the demand that we have. Because going out there and talking to people, there are a lot of people who really want to get vaccinated. And just lastly, when you were talking about numbers, I think it's kind of misleading right now, since we put in Johnson & Johnson is only one vaccine. Moderna and Pfizer, there are 2 vaccines. So how can we fix the numbers because how many are number 1, how many are number 2, and how many are Johnson & Johnson? Because there's no way you can, unless you put in the people who are getting the Johnson & Johnson under the second vaccine numbers, because they completed. So otherwise, it's kind of confusing for me. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Louis, thank you for your feedback. I'll start with the last question and then your feedback. So yes, Johnson & Johnson just started about a week and a half ago. So definitely, we could talk to the folks who are putting the data together and ask them to separate that data. In terms of the locations in the area. So the health department has opened up these point of dispensing sites. These are mass distribution sites. They're in high schools in the South Bronx. So we have one in the Morris campus. We have another one in the South Bronx, I'm gonna say it wrong, it's the school in St. Anne's. And then we have the one on Walton Avenue, which is a little up north. So in order for people to go there, they need an appointment. But what the health department is doing, we are working with CBOs. So if anyone on this call is interested in putting together a list and sending it to me, we're happy to give them appointments for their community. And so what we're doing is that in the morning, we're reserving time for the community, but they have to have an appointment. And so if anyone wants that information, let me know. I'm happy to make you an enroller, but you have to meet certain criteria, which is like you have to enroll more than 25 people and all these other features. So that's one.
What's the ages?
So right now it's based on the eligibility. It's based on eligibility. We started with prioritizing the seniors, and of course, we're prioritizing the senior. If I know any senior that needs a vaccine, call me up. I'm going to get them an appointment. The other folks, we have a lot of people that are working in the food industry that are essential workers. But again, we saw that the elderlies were the ones that were hit hardest. So we want to make sure that they're vaccinated ASAP. In terms of the other locations that are in the neighborhood, there's pharmacies. I'm looking right here. There's a couple of different places that are here. Walgreens, Rite Aid, VIP Community Service, Metro Community Health Center, Urban Health. And then in terms of the 24 hours, so those are a few. In terms of the 24 hours, I have to say the Bronx has 2 24 hours. There's one on Bathgate Avenue, which I'm working with Dr. Jimenez, who's leading that effort, because I'm leading the one here in Worth, and he's leading the one in the Bronx. And the Yankee Stadium. The Yankee Stadium has been operating in the evening hours on the weekends, I believe, 24 hours a day. And that's more access for people in the Bronx. It's not people from outside that can go there. So I think that's important. And the last thing that I wanted to mention is that we are working with community leaders in the area. So in terms of how we're going to get to everybody, we need everybody's help. This is an all hands on deck. So I want to encourage you all. I mean, I'm working with 2 priests in that area that are sending me referrals, and they're promoting it. And so I think that we need more of that to happen, so that then we could get the message to those people that are still leery. And good news is that I was in the South Bronx this weekend, and I met 2 people, and they said, we called 311 and we got an appointment for tomorrow. So it's working. So I think that there are appointments available for Bronx residents. It's just we have to get the word out. And so, you know, how we can all help the community make these appointments.
The school is it
Ralph, this is
Monique, hello, Monique, there's an order here. I'm sorry. Louis, that was a great question. I agree with Paula with that. We got Larry Robinson next. Larry.
Ridiculous.
Larry, unblock yourself.
Larry, if you got to unmute yourself. If not, we're going to move on. There you go.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Larry. Go ahead.
Okay. Quick story that might help Monique. I have the same problem with Monique as being African American, and a lot of things I have done in the past are still happening to blacks right now at this present time. But what I did is I got a call from Louis Morano at Urban Health Plan. He said, Larry, would you like the shot? But what I didn't tell Louis is that I already was lined up with Local 1199 because I retired from Local 1199. NYU Langone Medical Center called me also. The person that I go see all the time. That's what my doctors had. The hospital special surgery called me too. They did my back surgery, my knee surgery. I decided to take Urban Health Plan because I said if I have a person or a company that could give me a shot, I want it close to my community. So if other people ask me, I can say where I went. So I went to Urban Health Plan, got both my shots. I feel good. I'm trying to convince people to go. I got other people in my family that lined up now, but somebody has to step forth and show example leadership towards getting this done. A lot of people are dying. I know things happen bad to us in the past, but sometimes you have to look forward to the future. Right now, that's what we're aiming for. That's just my opinion. Just my opinion, nothing else, people.
All right, cool,
That's
Larry. Thank you so much. Ray Arroyo, you have a question?
Hi, everyone. Anita, so this is to the board and everyone to let you guys know that I'm presently working on putting a vaccine center at the Banknote building, where we started construction yesterday, and we look to be possibly ready to open mid next week. As soon as I have the information, I'm going to be sending it out.
You're amazing.
Sharing with everyone. We're running fast and furious on that. The other thing is, I've actually been helping people get appointments on my own, and the thing is, it's not people not being able to get not people not wanting the vaccine. I'm actually, I do get some people that are very skeptic, but I get a lot more people that are desperate for it. And I was wondering, I know like Yankee Stadium, they did it on their own. They're actually set up windows where people are being able to make appointments. So is there any type of pop-up or something like that we could set up in our community for people that don't have technology, people that have communication issues or aren't able to do the appointments, like the ones that I've been helping, that we could actually set something up somewhere and just have people, hey, if you need to make an appointment, you can't do it via technology, we have people here that can help you do it in person.
Yeah, I mean, that's great, Raymond. I just want to say that the health department is trying to work on this, right, through this enroller program. But we're also having people come out into the community to help register people. And so if we want to do something like that, I'm happy to help. We have a couple of sites in that area, the point of dispensing sites. We're looking for people. I mean, like, we're distributing over thousands every day in these communities. So whatever we can do to try to get the appointments to the people that want them, that's what I want. So we should talk offline. And I'm really happy to hear that you're going to have a pop-up clinic at the banknote, because the more we have of those, the more access people are going to have.
If you guys want to do some sort of enrollment event, we can do something at the property too. I'm the property manager, by the way. So I work for the so if there's something that we can do, that if you guys have infrastructure for it, I'll put my information in the chat, my email. I would be more than happy to try to help facilitate something for you guys.
That would be helpful. I mean, I was just on Univision, and I have to tell you guys that it was 8 of me, myself and 8 other colleagues. And it was the most productive night for me. I was on the phone for 4 hours with Hispanics, talking to them in Spanish, elderly people. And it was so gratifying just to be able to call them back and say, I have an appointment for you for tomorrow. Come to our site. And we send them car service, everything. Anyway, it was great. We had over 400 people calling us. So we need more like this, right? So the same thing that you're saying, Raymond, is like, how can we, do these events that can help our community? So let's do it. I'm all for doing things like this.
Anita, I'm sorry. Can
it's in the resources.
Answer just one question? Pregnant females, are they allowed to get vaccinated? Because it's a big concern.
Yes, it is. So there has been studies done, and the pregnant women, I believe a month ago, were approved. I think when we opened up the chronic disease, it included pregnant women.
Okay.
All right,
Anita,
cool.
Ralph, just one sec. You got somebody else, Ralph?
Thank you, Ray.
For the sake of time, we was gonna go back to Monique, and then that was it. But go ahead, you can go.
Anita, I have a concern when I'm hearing one of our major health facilities here in Ward 2 are being cut of vaccine. Where Lewis came out and said we were getting 600, instead we only got 200. Is that the reason is because we're getting more sites opening and they have to shrink the allocation? Or is it just that there's not enough allocations out there?
So I think the supply is an issue, right? If we get an abundance from the federal government, I think we're going to have an abundance of vaccine. And right now, that's not the case. And the way that it's being monitored, remember, the state is also monitoring this. They're asking each site that's distributing, they have to distribute 95% of whatever allocation they're receiving so that they could receive it for the next week. So let's say that I only vaccinated here at the location that I am, 1,000 people. Guess what? Because last week I only vaccinated 500, they're only going to send me 500. So this is the issue that we're having. So next week I'll get 1,000. So anyway, you have to meet the compliance, because if they're saying that you're not giving it out, they're like, why we're giving it to you? So I don't know what the issue with Urban Health was. I'm happy to look into it. I know we've been working closely with them, but this is it. It's just like, if the federal government doesn't give it to us or the state doesn't give it to us, then we can. So I think we have to work together.
Well, like you just finished saying, it's either the federal government or the state, and I understand that, and it's beyond your control, but it helps us to know who we have to speak to some of our state elected officials, at least here in Community Board 2, or to our congressmen, because this is an important issue. I know that I got myself vaccinated at Urban Health, and my wife is getting her second shot next week. But, I worry when you're telling me you have to cancel 400 appointments, and now you have to reschedule those. That means that everything gets pushed back. And that is a concern. That is a major concern, because, it's bad enough that we're trying to get people in. And, we're literally having to drag them in if we have to, and we don't mind. But if we're dragging them in and then they're not, they appointments are getting canceled, then they're saying, for what? What am I doing this if I got to go someplace else to get my shot?
You're right. You're right. So I think that all the above, we should advocate. So of course, the congressman, federal, we should talk to our state people, the governor. These are the folks that we have to say, we need more vaccines in the Bronx. I mean, you saw how the Yankee Stadium came on, right? 15,000 vaccine 1 week. So the same way the governor made it happen, they work together with the other agencies. That's how we have to do it. So let's advocate, everybody.
Because I know that urban health is out there pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing, and it's one of our major health facilities here in Ward 2. So it brings a major concern to me. As just as a regular person, it would bring me concern because we're trying to get people to come in. But I see the chat, but I see your email address, but I do not see a phone number because I have my mother-in-law that needs, she's homebound. She can't walk. And there's 2 flights of stairs that she has to come down. Can you put your phone number or you can text it to me? You have my text, I believe.
Yep, I'm gonna text it to everybody. I'm gonna email it to everyone. Cynthia has said that it was on the agenda, but I'll send it.
Okay, thank you.
Agenda. All right, cool. So we just have one more. Monique, if you want to follow back up, because for the sake of time, we need to move on.
I just wanted, you didn't know what school that was on St. Anne's. Is that University Heights, which used to be South Bronx High School? Is that the school that they're using on St. Anne's?
Yes. Yes, I think it's 701 St. Anne's. Yep, that's it.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Ralph.
And we're
No
at
problem, Monique.
Wilson.
No
We were
problem.
also at Bronx High School of Science up a little north. And we're in the Morris campus as well. And of course, with schools opening, we were doing this Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sundays. And with schools opening, we're looking for new locations. So to be continued, I'll send it to the board.
Great. And Anita has been an asset to us, and she's been providing as much information. And I'm happy that Louis did speak the way he did as the chair of our health committee. And we have 2 people here, Natasha Trivers and Elvis Santana. If y'all can follow back up with Anita offline, she did provide her information. And if there's anything that you want to share, you can send it to the office. But for the sake of time, we need to move on the agenda because it's almost over. We're up to just some of these announcements. And I think, Yvonne, are you still here with us, Yvonne?
I am still here with you guys.
All right, great. So I know it was difficult navigating on your end because I don't know if you see the raise hand function and anything like that. So
No, I can't. I'm actually calling it from the phone, so I don't see anything at all whatsoever.
Okay. So we're up to now, we're having some flyers posted. So Monday, April 19th at 11 a.m., the 41st Precinct is having their 5th annual Autism Awareness Walk. There's a flyer up. I would suggest that people can follow up directly with the precinct, but I want to remind people that tomorrow we have our youth committee meeting, and if I'm not mistaken, Detective Juve will be making a presentation regarding the autism walk at tomorrow's committee meeting. So
yes,
anyone that's interested in it, they can attend tomorrow's meeting. We got some construction notices happening actually this weekend, coming up Friday to Monday on the Bruckner going eastbound from Bryant to Whittier. And the chair, we brought this up last week, and the chairman, I want to let you know that I did reach out to state DOT regarding additional traffic agents. So they're going to maneuver some people around because they have other ones coming up on Hunts Point and on Tiffany, I think that is, right? Tiffany or Barreto. So they're going to move them over as needed. So they're going to be providing additional traffic agents as needed. So that was per the chairman's request. This was already discussed, but I'm happy that Cynthia left this on here. We had a productive meeting last week with EDC regarding the Rebuild by Design project, which is now Hunts Point Forward. And I'm happy to say that I'm on the working group for that. And that's it. There's nothing else here. So that's it for the agenda. Madam Chair, I don't know if there's anything else that you would want to.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
Cynthia. Yes, Cynthia.
Yes, so we have somebody, Mr. Ricky Gatiria. I'm sorry if I pronounce your name wrong. He is going to be opening the school on 1000 Westchester. So he just wanted to introduce himself, and he is going to do a request for presentation form for next month.
Okay, great. That's great. Welcome, Ricky. Thank you so much for coming.
No, thank you so much, Cynthia. I'm actually going to pass it to Natasha Trivers. I'm her project manager, but she is the CEO of Democracy Prep and would love to introduce herself.
Thank you so much for having me, and what a wealth of information you all presented tonight. It's really great to be with you, and I will keep it very brief. But my name is Natasha Trivers. I'm the CEO of Democracy Prep Public Schools, and I heard people asking about seats in the Bronx, so I'm just really excited to announce that we are opening a school in the Bronx. It is starting next year with just kindergarten and first grade. It's actually starting first in a temporary site at 1529 Williamsbridge Road. That's District 11 in the Bronx. And then we are really, really excited to work with Peter Fine to build a brand new, beautiful school at 1000 Westchester. And that will be the permanent home for this school once it grows. So we're really, really excited. Democracy Prep started as a single site school in Harlem in 2006. We now have 22 schools in 5 regions with 7,500 students. While we're in other regions, 12 of our 22 schools are in Harlem and the Bronx, and we are deeply committed to growing in the Bronx. So thank you so much for having me. We will definitely get that presentation ready for the board meeting next month, but I just wanted to introduce myself to you this evening.
Thank you so much for that, Natasha. Really appreciate that. And we'll be looking forward to seeing the presentation next month. This is committee, actually, this is the committee for it, the Education Committee. So welcome. Thank you so much. And welcome, Ricky, also. So, Madam Chair, I don't know if there's anything else, because if not, you have, oh, Cynthia does.
I'm
Cynthia
sorry. So we have the Bronx Borough Landmarks Committee. They're meeting tomorrow at 6 p.m. Via Zoom. And then we have the 24th virtual housing resource fair from 5:30 to 7. So if your information is in the chat, you will be getting these emails with all of the information. So please make sure you leave your information in the chat. That's it. I promise. That's it.
Cynthia, thank you so much for that. I want to thank everyone for attending. We have not had an education committee meeting in quite some time. So I want to, he's not here, and I see that Erica and Donna already left, but I want to acknowledge Devontae Graham from the Department of Education, because he's my liaison and he assisted in setting up this this meeting with me tonight. I just want to be formal and thank Devontae for that. And it's good to see some other committee chairs present here, Larry, Lewis, Paula, and the chairman himself to actually be here. Along with other, members of the board that are not a part of this committee. So it just shows that, and I already emailed the Department of Education, so they witness for themselves all the concerns and questions that everyone has. We have a wide range here, so which was a good thing. So I just want to thank everyone for that. And Madam Chair, you have 6 of your 7 members present. So that's you have quorum, but you need now make a motion to end the meeting.
Congratulations, Madam Chair.
Everybody, I'm taking the time to hop on the call today. I appreciate it. I know it has been a while since we had a meeting, but it has been a great meeting today with lots of conversations and really great questions. I look forward to having our meeting next month. And just thank you. I don't have anything else on my end.
Anita. I'm sorry. We got to thank Anita also.
Yes, and Anita. Yes, thank you, Anita.
Yes, thank you, Anita.
Thank you, Anita. And thank you, Ralph and Cynthia, for making sure our presenters, confirming our presenters.
I give Cynthia all the credit for that, so that's fine with me.
Yes, no, thank you guys. I don't have anything else on my end.
Make a motion to adjourn. You got to make a motion. Someone got to second it.
Okay, I'll make the motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion second. Request.
And Richard Sherman also seconded, so we're good. Bobby.
Sounds good.
So that's it.
Good night, everybody.
Everyone. I'm stopping the recording.
Good night, everyone.